Commander Day One stood on the bridge of the Harmony, watching the stars bend and twist through the viewport. After 3 months of faster-than-light travel, Earth's first diplomatic ship was finally approaching the Galactic Council's headquarters. His crew had practiced their greetings in 12 different alien languages. They had prepared gifts from Earth. Everyone was excited to meet other intelligent species. The massive space station came into view. It was bigger than Earth's moon, covered in lights and docking ports. Hundreds of alien ships floated nearby, each one different from the others. Some looked like crystals, others like living creatures. The Harmony looked tiny and primitive next to them. "Sir, we're receiving a docking code," said Dr. Mira from her station. She was Earth's best xenobiologist and had spent years preparing for this moment. Her hands shook slightly as she worked. "Take us in," Day One ordered. The docking process took an hour. When they finally opened the airlock, a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms waited for them. He wore elegant robes and looked at the humans the way someone might look at insects. "I am Ambassador Velron of the Quellan Empire," the alien said through a translation device. His voice was cold. "Welcome to the Galactic Council. Please follow me." Day One led his team through corridors filled with aliens of every shape and size. Some walked, some floated, some slithered. None of them paid attention to the humans. They walked past like the humans were invisible. The council chamber was enormous. Thousands of aliens sat in rows that went up so high that Day One could barely see the ceiling. At the center sat 3 figures on raised platforms. They looked down at the humans like judges at a trial. "Humans of Earth," one of them spoke. "We have reviewed your application. You are granted status as a Tier 5 newcomer species. You may trade basic goods in approved zones. Your military ships must stay within your home system. You will obey all council regulations. Do you accept?" Ambassador Hyojin stepped forward. She had practiced her speech for weeks. "We are honored to join the galactic community. We hope to learn from you and share our own culture. We seek only peace and friendship." Some aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. The 3 leaders said nothing. "Your acceptance is recorded," the central figure said. "You are dismissed." That night, back on the Harmony, the human delegation gathered to discuss what they had learned. Young Captain Taman was angry. "Did you see how they looked at us? Like we're nothing." "We need to be patient," Hyojin said. "We're the newcomers here. We have to prove ourselves." Dr. Mira pulled up data on her screen. "I've been studying the Council's history. Something doesn't add up. They claim they've had peace for 12,000 years. But I found records of over 100 minor conflicts in just the last century." "What kind of conflicts?" Day One asked. "That's the strange part. None of them had more than a few dozen casualties. The battles lasted only hours. It's like they're not really fighting." Day One frowned. "Show me the military data." Mira brought up files on the Council's 3 major military powers. The Krell hegemony had 10,000 warships. The Nexian Concordat had 15,000. The Phelan Empire had 12,000. Together, they controlled the entire galaxy. "Here's what's interesting," Mira continued. "Their weapons are designed to disable, not destroy. Their battles follow strict rules. Ships that lose shields must retreat. No targeting of crew sections. It's all ceremonial." "Ceremonial," Taman said. "What kind of military fights ceremonial battles?" "One that hasn't faced a real war in 12,000 years, Day One said quietly. The crew fell silent. They were all thinking the same thing. Earth had only stopped having major wars 50 years ago. Humans knew what real combat looked like. These aliens had forgotten. "What do we do?" Hyojin asked. Day One looked at the star map showing council space. Hundreds of species, thousands of worlds, all living under this so-called peace. But was it really peace? Or was it control disguised as harmony? "We learn," he said. "We watch. We follow their rules. But we also prepare. Because something tells me this peace isn't as stable as they think." Mira nodded slowly. "I found something else. Over the past 1,000 years, 47 species have gone extinct. Not from war, from failure to adapt to council standards. They were eliminated because they didn't follow the rules. They kill entire species for breaking rules?" Taman stood up, his fists clenched. "Not kill. Quarantine. Economic sanctions. Blockades. They make it impossible to survive. Then call it natural selection." Day One felt a chill run down his spine. Earth had been classified as Tier 5, the lowest rank. If humans didn't play by the rules, they could be next. But if they did play by the rules, they would be trapped forever in this gilded cage. "Send a message to Earth Command," he ordered. Tell them what we've learned, and tell them to increase military production. Something tells me we're going to need it." The Harmony left Council headquarters 3 days later. The humans smiled and thanked their hosts. They promised to obey all regulations, but as their ship jumped to faster than light speed, each of them knew the truth. Earth had entered a galaxy where peace was enforced by fear, where freedom meant submission, where the strong ruled and the weak disappeared, and humans, for all their faults, had never been good at accepting submission. The galaxy was about to learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. 6 months passed. Earth built its first colony on a planet they named New Busan. 5,000 colonists made the journey, ready to start a new life under alien stars. Colonel Jin Ho commanded the Colonial Defense Force. He had 200 Marines and limited weapons. The Council only allowed Tier 5 species to have small defensive arms. Jin Ho walked the perimeter every morning. The colony was small but growing. Engineers like Subin were building homes, farms, and factories. Children played in the streets. It looked peaceful. But Jin Ho couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. "Sir," one of his Marines called out, "we've got incoming ships." "Not ours." Jin Ho ran to the command center. 6 alien vessels were entering orbit. They were broadcasting in a language the translators identified as Vreth. According to Council records, the Vreth Dominion were traders and explorers. "Open a channel," Jin Ho ordered. The face that appeared on screen was reptilian, with yellow eyes and sharp teeth. "Human colony. This is Commander Zolther of the Vreth Dominion. You are occupying a planet we have claimed. Surrender your resources and leave, or face correction." This planet was registered to Earth by the Council. Jin Ho said calmly. "You have no claim here," Zolthar laughed. It was an ugly sound. "The Council is far away. You are weak. We take what we want. You have 1 hour to evacuate." The screen went dark. Jin Ho immediately activated the colony's emergency system. "All civilians to shelters. Defense Force battle stations. Subin, I need those modifications ready now." For the past 3 months, Engineer Subin had been working on a project. The Council said colonies could only have defensive weapons, but they never said anything about mining equipment, construction tools, or agricultural machinery. Subin had turned every piece of equipment into a weapon. The Vreth ships landed outside the colony. 300 warriors emerged carrying energy shields and ceremonial weapons. They marched toward the colony in neat rows, expecting the humans to run away or surrender. Jin Ho watched from his command post. "Hold fire until they're in range." The Vreth reached the outer perimeter. Their commander raised his weapon and fired a warning shot. It was meant to scare the colonists. Instead, it triggered the defense response. Explosives hidden in the ground detonated. Not big enough to kill, just enough to confuse. The Vreth formation broke apart. Then the real attack began. Subin's modified mining lasers opened fire from hidden positions. They were designed to cut through rock, and they cut through Vreth shields like paper. Construction vehicles charged forward, modified with armor plating and rams. Agricultural drones dropped explosive payloads from above. But the real devastation came from the Marines themselves. They didn't stand in neat rows. They didn't wait for shields to fail before shooting. They used cover, flanking maneuvers, and concentrated fire. They aimed to kill, not disable. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, over 200 Vreth warriors were dead or dying. 40 more were captured. Commander Zolthar was among the survivors, his arm badly burned, his eyes wide with shock. Jin Ho's force had lost 8 Marines. It hurt. Each death was a person with family, dreams, and hopes. But compared to the Vreth casualties, it was nothing. "What kind of monsters are you?" Zolthar gasped as human medics treated his wounds. "We followed the rules of combat. You just killed us." "We defended our home," Jin Ho said coldly. "You came to take what wasn't yours. This is what happens." News of the battle reached the Galactic Council within hours. Emergency sessions were called. Angry aliens demanded answers. How could humans kill so many with so few losses? Why didn't they follow combat protocols? Where was the honor, the ceremony, the civilized approach? Ambassador He Jin stood before the Council, facing their anger. "We were attacked. We defended ourselves. If that violates your rules, then your rules protect aggressors and punish victims. You used lethal force," one council member shouted. "Warfare has rules. You cannot simply kill your enemies. Why not?" Admiral Day One, who had been promoted after the first contact mission, stepped forward. "They came to destroy our colony, to take our people's homes, and you expect us to fight with one hand tied behind our backs? This is how war is conducted, another alien said. Shield against shield. First blood ends the battle. Civilized species understand this. Then maybe we're not civilized, Day One said. But we're alive. Our colony is safe, and anyone who attacks us again will learn the same lesson the Vreth did. The Council voted to condemn Earth's actions. They called it excessive force, war crimes, barbaric behavior. But they couldn't agree on what to do about it. Some wanted to quarantine Earth, others wanted sanctions. A few wanted military intervention. In the end, they did nothing. Because behind closed doors, the three military powers were asking themselves a terrifying question. If humans could destroy a Vreth raiding party that easily, what could they do to a real military force? Colonel Jinho stood at the memorial service for the 8 fallen Marines. The colony built a monument with their names carved in stone. Subin stood beside him, her hand in his. Do you think we did the right thing? She asked quietly. Jinho looked at the colonists. Children playing. Families together. People building a future. We survived, he said. Sometimes that's all that matters. But in his heart, he knew the truth. Earth had shown the galaxy its teeth, and now there was no going back. The Galactic Council decided to teach humanity a lesson. If humans thought they were strong, they would be proven wrong. The annual war games were the perfect opportunity. Every species sent their best warriors to compete in simulated combat. It was a grand display of military power, all done safely without real deaths. Captain Taemin received the invitation personally. You will represent Earth, Admiral Daewon told him. Choose your best people. Show them what we can do. Taemin selected his team carefully. Pilot Yuna was the best flyer in the fleet. Tactical Officer Sangwoo could read enemy patterns faster than any computer. Combat Specialist Yunji had never lost a training exercise. Together with Taemin, they made a crew of 4. The war games were held in a massive simulation field near Council headquarters. Over 50 species participated, each bringing their finest ships and warriors. The Krell hegemony brought a fleet of 300 simulated vessels, each one massive and powerful. The Nexian Concordat sent 200 ships with the most advanced shields in the galaxy. Dozens of other species filled the field with impressive displays of force. Earth sent 12 small ships. Older models, basic weapons, no fancy shields. The aliens laughed when they saw them. This will be entertaining, a Krell commander said loud enough for everyone to hear, watching the primitives fail. The war games had 3 rounds. In the first round, each team had to defend a station while others attacked. Standard protocol was to form defensive lines, rotate shield frequencies, and hold position until time ran out. Taemin ignored the standard protocol. When the first wave of enemy ships approached, his 12 vessels scattered in different directions. The attackers were confused. Where were the defensive lines? Then Yuna brought her ship screaming out of a simulated asteroid field, hitting the enemy formation from behind. While they turned to face her, Yunji's squad attacked from another angle. Before the enemy could reorganize, Sangwoo had already calculated their next move and positioned ships to intercept. The attackers lost half their force before they even reached the station. The rest retreated, shocked at the speed and aggression of the human response. That's not how defense works, an alien judge complained. You're supposed to stay near the station. Why? Taemin asked. We defended the station. It's undamaged. We won. The judge couldn't argue with the results. The second round was an attack scenario. Each team had to capture an enemy base protected by automated defenses. Most species sent wave after wave of ships, relying on superior numbers and shields to eventually overwhelm the defenses. Taemin sent in only 2 ships. Sangwoo and Yunji flew close to the automated defenses, studying their patterns. For 20 minutes, they did nothing but watch. The aliens in the audience grew bored. Some called it cowardice. Then Sangwoo found the pattern. The defenses had a 3-second gap when they rotated between targets. He shared the data with the entire team. All 12 human ships rushed forward at once, each one timing their approach to exploit the gap. They reached the base before the defenses could fire a single effective shot. The audience sat in stunned silence. The third and final round was fleet combat. All remaining teams fought each other in a massive free-for-all. The last team standing won. This was where superior numbers and technology usually decided victory. The Krell brought their full 300 ships. The Nexians brought 200. Other species had between 50 and 100 ships each. Taemin had 12 ships. And a plan. When the battle began, most species immediately started fighting each other. The Krell targeted the Nexians, old rivals looking to prove superiority. Smaller species formed temporary alliances. The combat field became chaos. The human ships didn't join the fight. They stayed at the edges, watching and waiting. "What are the humans doing?" aliens asked. "Are they giving up?" Sang-Woo sat at his station, analyzing every ship movement, every attack pattern, every tactical decision. He fed information to Taemin, who smiled. The aliens were so focused on each other that they had forgotten about the humans. Then Sang-Woo did something brilliant and completely against the rules. He hacked into the enemy communication channels. It was easy because no one expected cheating in a simulation. He started sending false messages. "Krell Fleet, this is Krell Command. Nexian ships are flanking from Sector 7. All ships respond." The Krell Fleet broke formation and rushed to Sector 7. There was nothing there. But in moving, they exposed their command ship. Taemin struck. All 12 human ships focused fire on the Krell flagship. It went down in seconds. Without their commander, the Krell Fleet fell into confusion. Sang-Woo sent more false messages. "Nexian Fleet Krell ships detected in your rear. Turn and engage." The Nexians spun around, firing at ships that turned out to be their own allies. In the chaos, human ships picked off isolated vessels one by one. For 2 hours, the battle raged. And for 2 hours, Sang-Woo manipulated the enemy fleets into fighting each other, while human ships stayed at the edges, striking only when targets were vulnerable. It was deception on a level the galaxy hadn't seen in thousands of years. When the simulation ended, only 12 ships remained functional. All of them were human. The War Games arena erupted in shouting. Aliens protested, claiming the humans cheated. Judges reviewed the recordings, looking for rule violations. "You manipulated communications," a judge finally said. "That's deception. It's dishonorable." "Is it against the rules?" Taemin asked calmly. The judge checked. There was no specific rule against hacking communications. The idea had never occurred to anyone. "No," the judge admitted, "but it's not how warfare is conducted." "Then maybe it should be," Taemin said. Earth was declared the winner of the War Games, but there was no celebration in the audience. The aliens had seen something that terrified them. Humans didn't just fight. They adapted, deceived, and exploited every weakness. They turned enemies against each other. They used tactics that no one expected because no one thought that way anymore. That night, Ambassador Velrun approached Admiral Daewon privately. The Quellan had been one of the judges. "Your species is dangerous," Velrun said quietly. His earlier contempt was gone, replaced by fear. "You fight like the ancient races before the Great Peace. You don't follow the rules because you don't think there should be rules." "War shouldn't have rules that protect the aggressor," Daewon replied. "If you attack someone, you should expect them to fight back with everything they have. That kind of thinking could destroy the galaxy. That kind of thinking keeps people free." Velrun left without another word, but as Daewon watched him go, he knew the truth. The War Games had been meant to humble humanity. Instead, they had shown the entire galaxy what humans could do. And now everyone was afraid. The Krell hegemony had ruled their sector of space for 3,000 years. Their military was the largest in the galaxy, with 10,000 warships and millions of soldiers. They maintained order through strength and rarely faced any challenge. The humans had embarrassed them at the War Games, but that was just a simulation. Admiral Thrawn Kor, commander of the Krell Grand Fleet, decided it was time to put the humans in their proper place. He sent a message to Earth that was broadcast across the entire galaxy. "Humans of Earth, you have violated the principles of civilized warfare. You have shown contempt for established protocols. You have demonstrated dangerous tendencies that threaten galactic peace. Therefore, the Krell hegemony demands you submit to our oversight. Accept Krell advisors on your worlds. Limit your military to defensive forces only. Agree to follow all combat regulations. You have 30 days to comply. Failure to do so will result in correction." The message was clear: obey or be destroyed. On Earth, the government held emergency meetings. Some leaders wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to fight. General Hyunwoo, Earth's chief of defense, was called to present his analysis. "If we fight, can we win?" the Earth president asked. Hyunwoo pulled up tactical displays. The Krell have 10,000 ships. We have 400. They have superior technology, stronger shields, and more firepower. In a direct fleet battle, we would lose. Then we should negotiate. I said we would lose a direct battle, Hyunwoo continued. I didn't say we would lose the war. He explained his plan. It was based on ancient military history from Earth. Wars fought by smaller forces against larger empires. Vietnam, Afghanistan, the American Revolution. History was full of examples where determination and tactics defeated superior numbers. We don't fight them where they're strong, Hyunwoo said. We fight them where they're weak. Earth sent its response to the Krell ultimatum. One word, Admiral Thrawn Kor was furious. He mobilized the Grand Fleet immediately. 10,000 warships, the largest military force assembled in 1,000 years, set course for Earth. Thrawn Kor expected a glorious battle followed by quick victory. The humans would learn their place. But when the Krell fleet reached human space, they found no enemy waiting. Earth's fleet was gone. The Krell scanned nearby systems, searching for the cowards who fled. They didn't find the fleet. What they found were supply convoys being destroyed, communication relays being sabotaged, isolated patrol groups being ambushed. Small human strike forces appeared out of nowhere, hit hard and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Intelligence officer Ji Woo led many of these operations. She and her team infiltrated Krell networks, stole fleet deployment schedules, and fed the information to human strike groups. Every time the Krell sent ships to guard one area, humans attacked somewhere else. For 3 months, the Krell Grand Fleet chased ghosts. They never fought a single major battle. But they lost ships every single day. 2,000 warships destroyed in small engagements. Thousands more damaged. Supply lines stretched thin. Morale collapsed. Admiral Thrawn Kor became obsessed. He sent ship after ship hunting for the main human fleet. He ignored advisors who suggested returning home. He made reckless decisions trying to force the humans into open battle. General Hyunwoo watched from Earth's command center as the Krell exhausted themselves. He had studied ancient generals, Sun Tzu, who taught that the supreme art of war was defeating the enemy without fighting, Hannibal, who destroyed Roman armies through tactics instead of brute force, Napoleon, who moved faster than his enemies expected. They're learning to fight like us, Jiwoo reported after another successful raid. The Krell are adapting their tactics. Good, Hyunwoo said. Let them adapt. We'll adapt faster. Finally, Thrawn Kor did something desperate. He cornered a portion of the human fleet near Saturn. 400 human ships against 8,000 Krell vessels. At last, the glorious battle he wanted. He rushed his fleet forward, eager to crush the humans once and for all, and flew straight into a trap. Hyunwoo had spent 3 months preparing the Saturn battle space. Thousands of mines hidden among the rings, automated weapons platforms disguised as asteroids. The entire area was a death trap, and the Krell flew right in. The battle lasted 6 hours. Human ships used Saturn's moons for cover, using gravitational slingshots to multiply their speed and firepower. They knew every safe path through the minefield. The Krell didn't. When it ended, the Krell Grand Fleet had lost 5,000 ships, more than half their force. Admiral Thrawn Kor's flagship was destroyed, and he barely escaped in a life pod. The remaining Krell ships retreated. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Krell hegemony had been defeated in warfare. The galaxy watched in shock. The mighty Krell, humbled by a species that had been in space for less than 2 years. It didn't seem possible, but General Hyunwoo knew the truth. The Krell hadn't lost because humans were stronger. They lost because they had forgotten how to really fight. They expected honor, glory, and straightforward battles. They got deception, ambushes, and unconventional tactics. Earth offered peace terms. The Krell would leave human space and never return. In exchange, Earth wouldn't press their advantage. It was generous considering Earth could have destroyed what remained of the Grand Fleet. The Krell agreed. They had no choice. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. Minor species that had lived under Krell rule for centuries suddenly saw hope. If humans could defeat the Krell, maybe freedom was possible. Maybe the old powers weren't invincible. But on Earth, there was no celebration. General Hyunwoo visited hospitals full of wounded soldiers. He read reports of ships lost and crews dead. Victory had a cost that glory could never repay. We won, Jiwoo said quietly, standing beside him. We survived, Hyunwoo corrected. That's not the same thing. He looked at the star maps showing the galaxy. Two other major powers remained, the Nexian Concordat and the Phaelon Empire. They had watched the Krell fall. Now they were afraid of what humanity might do next. Fear made people dangerous, and Hyunwoo knew that the real war was just beginning. 2 years after the Krell defeat, the galaxy was changing. Species that had followed council rules for thousands of years were starting to question those rules. Minor conflicts erupted in sectors that had been peaceful for centuries. The careful order that the council maintained was cracking. Admiral Daewon found himself at the center of this change. Every week, new species approached Earth seeking military alliances. They had seen what happened to the Krell and wanted human protection. "We can't defend everyone," Earth's president said during a strategy meeting. "We don't have enough ships or resources." "We don't need to defend them," Daewon explained. "We need to teach them to defend themselves." This was how the Terran Compact was born. 23 species joined in the first month. Earth provided military training, tactical doctrine, and strategic advisors. In exchange, member species provided resources, technology, and bases in their territory. Captain Taemin, now a commander, led many of these training missions. He traveled to alien worlds, teaching their forces how humans fought. It was strange work. These species had warriors, but they had forgotten what war really meant. On one world, he trained a species called the Voth. They were small, peaceful traders who had been bullied by larger neighbors for generations. "We're not fighters," their leader told Taemin. "We don't know how to be violent." "You don't need to be violent," Taemin said. "You need to be effective. Violence is just a tool. The question is whether you're willing to use it to protect what matters." He taught them guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks, and defensive strategies. Within 6 months, the Voth successfully defended their trade routes from pirates. Other species took notice. Dr. Mira continued her research into the Council's history. What she found troubled her deeply. She discovered that over the past 12,000 years, the galaxy's technological advancement had almost stopped. New inventions were rare. Scientific breakthroughs came once a century instead of once a year. "It's by design," she told Admiral Daewon. "The Council suppresses innovation. Anything that might disrupt the balance of power is classified as dangerous. They've created a stagnant civilization that calls itself peaceful." "What happens when we introduce change?" Daewon asked. "We're already seeing it. Species are developing new weapons, new tactics, new ways of thinking. We've started a revolution, whether we meant to or not. Not everyone on Earth supported this path." Lieutenant Jae Sung, a young officer assigned to Daewon's staff, voiced concerns that others only whispered. "Are we the good guys?" he asked during a private meeting. "We're teaching the galaxy how to fight, how to deceive, how to kill more efficiently. The Council had peace for 12,000 years. We've had 5 years and there are already conflicts everywhere." Daewon didn't have an easy answer. Their peace was built on suppression. Species lived in fear, not harmony. But you're right. The alternative is messy and dangerous. Maybe there's no good choice, only the one we can live with. The two remaining major powers, the Nexian Concordat and Phaelon Empire, watched Earth's growing influence with alarm. They held secret meetings to discuss the human problem. "They're spreading like a virus," the Phaelon Emperor said, "corrupting stable civilizations with their barbaric ideas. We should have destroyed them when they were weak," the Nexian High Chancellor agreed. Now they have allies, they decided to act. A joint operation to eliminate Earth's leadership. Assassins were sent to kill General Hyunwoo, Admiral Daewon, and other key military figures. Jiwoo's intelligence network discovered the plot 2 days before it was supposed to happen. She warned everyone in time and the assassins were captured. But the message was clear. The old powers would not give up control without a fight. Earth faced a decision. They could ignore the assassination attempt and continue slowly building the Terran Compact. Or they could prepare for war with the two most powerful remaining forces in the galaxy. General Hyunwoo called a meeting of all Terran Compact members. Representatives from 23 species gathered on Earth for the first time. "The Nexians and Phaelon will not let this alliance continue," Hyunwoo told them. "They will attack us probably soon. Each of your species must decide. Stand with us or make peace with your old masters." One by one, the species voted. Some were afraid. A few wanted to negotiate. But most chose to stand with Earth. "We were slaves pretending to be free," one delegate said. "Better to die fighting for real freedom than live under comfortable chains." The Terran Compact began preparing for war. Colonel Jinho, now a general, oversaw the transformation of Allied forces. Engineer Subin designed new weapons using combined human and alien technology. Commander Taemin trained mixed crews how to fight together. Dr. Mira made one more important discovery. Hidden in the Council archives was the location of a secret database. It contained 12,000 years of suppressed technology and scientific research, everything the Council had deemed too dangerous to share. If we can access that database, she told the leadership, we might find something that gives us an advantage. Jiwoo volunteered to lead a covert team to steal the data. It was a dangerous mission, but she had done dangerous things before. As preparations continued, Lieutenant Jae-sung watched humanity transform from a species seeking acceptance to a revolutionary force reshaping galactic civilization. He still wasn't sure if this was right, but he knew there was no turning back. The old galaxy was dying. What would replace it depended on who won the war to come, and everyone knew that war was inevitable now. The assassination attempt had made it clear. The old powers would rather see the galaxy burn than lose control. Admiral Daewon stood on Earth's orbital defense station, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive to join the Terran Compact fleet. Humans, Voth, Quellan, and species whose names he was still learning, all of them preparing to fight for a different future. Did we cause this? Jae-sung asked, standing beside him. This coming war? No, Daewon said. The war was always coming. The Council's peace was like a dam holding back a river. We didn't create the pressure. We just showed everyone that the dam could break. The war began without any formal declaration. Nexian and Phalon fleets simply started attacking Terran Compact worlds. They struck quickly, expecting easy victories against species they had always considered weak. They were wrong. The first major battle happened at a world called Haven, home to the Voth people. The Nexian Concordat sent 5,000 ships, confident they would crush the small colony in hours. Instead, they found a prepared defense force using tactics trained by humans. The Voth didn't try to meet the Nexians in open battle. They used their knowledge of their home system to set up ambush points. They employed hit-and-run attacks. When the Nexians landed ground forces, they found a population that knew how to fight back. Commander Taemin commanded the orbital defense from a mixed human-Voth fleet. His tactical officer Sang-woo had taught the Voth commanders how to think 3 steps ahead. When the Nexians attacked from one direction, the defenders were already moving to counter from another. The battle lasted 3 days. The Nexians eventually retreated, having lost a third of their fleet. It was their first major defeat in 2,000 years, but Haven was just one battle. The war spread across dozens of systems. The Nexian Concordat and Phalon Empire had a combined fleet of 27,000 warships. The Terran Compact had 15,000, including only 2,000 human vessels. On paper, the old powers should have won easily. Admiral Daewon coordinated the overall defense from Earth's command center. He divided the compact fleet into fast-moving strike groups instead of massive fleets. Each group operated independently, hitting enemy supply lines and avoiding major engagements. We can't win through attrition, he explained to his officers. We have to make this war too expensive for them to continue. General Hyunwoo led the ground war. Wherever enemy forces landed, they found trained defenders using terrain, technology, and tactics the invaders didn't expect. Hyunwoo had studied every major military campaign in human history. He taught those lessons to every compact species willing to learn. But the war came at a terrible cost. Ships were destroyed daily. Soldiers died by the thousands. Entire colonies were bombarded from orbit. Captain Taemin's squadron lost pilot Yuna during a raid on a Phalon supply depot. She had been his friend since the war games. Taemin stood at Yuna's memorial service, barely able to speak. She was the best pilot I ever knew. She died protecting people she had never met on a world far from home. That's what this war costs. The other pilots stood in silence. They all knew any one of them could be next. Jiwoo ran shadow operations behind enemy lines. Her team sabotaged enemy bases, stole intelligence, and spread disinformation. She was good at her job, maybe too good. Sometimes she couldn't sleep thinking about the people who died because of her operations. We're winning, one of her agents said after a successful mission. We're surviving, Jiwoo corrected, echoing words General Hyunwoo had once said. That's different. Dr. Mira finally succeeded in accessing the Council's hidden database. What she found changed everything. The database contained information about an ancient war fought 15,000 years ago. It had almost destroyed all galactic civilization. Billions died. Entire species went extinct. The survivors created the Council and its rules to make sure such a war never happened again. They weren't wrong to be afraid, Mira told Admiral Day 1. Real warfare between advanced civilizations is terrifying. The weapons in this database could destroy planets. The tactics described here make our methods look gentle, but they went too far, Day 1 said. They chose control over freedom. They forgot that people need to be able to defend themselves. What if we've gone too far in the other direction? We've taught the galaxy how to fight. What happens when this war ends? Do we just keep fighting forever? Day 1 had no answer. The war reached its climax at Council Central, the massive space station where humans had first met the galactic community. Both sides committed their remaining forces. It was the kind of huge, decisive battle the galaxy hadn't seen in thousands of years. 20,000 ships filled the space around the station. Nexian and Phaelon forces on one side, Terran Compact on the other. For a moment, both fleets paused as if realizing the magnitude of what was about to happen. Then the battle began. It lasted 8 hours, the longest continuous combat in modern galactic history. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes. Escape pods scattered like seeds. The space around the station became a graveyard. Colonel Jin Ho, now a general, led boarding teams that fought their way onto the station itself. Engineer Subin coordinated the assault from a command ship, her hands shaking as she watched casualty reports pile up. So many dead. So many more dying. Commander Sang-Woo had his ship shot out from under him. He and his crew barely made it to escape pods. As he floated in space waiting for rescue, he watched the battle rage around him and wondered if any victory was worth this price. General Hyun-woo directed the overall battle from Earth, making decisions that would save some lives while sacrificing others. Every order he gave haunted him. Every casualty report felt like a personal failure. The turning point came when Ji-woo's intelligence team discovered that the Phylan Emperor himself was aboard the station. Taemin led a desperate strike with his surviving ships. They broke through the defensive line with heavy losses, but they reached the Emperor's flagship. The Emperor surrendered rather than die. With their leader captured, Phaelon forces began to falter. The Nexian forces fought on for another 2 hours before their High Chancellor finally accepted reality. The old powers had lost. When the battle ended, both sides were devastated. The Terran Compact had lost 6,000 ships. Nexian and Phaelon forces had lost 12,000. Hundreds of thousands were dead. The station itself was heavily damaged. Admiral Day 1 walked through the captured station, seeing the cost of victory. Wounded being treated in makeshift hospitals, bodies being collected, soldiers from a dozen species all looking shell-shocked and exhausted. He found Lieutenant Jae-sung helping move wounded to medical bays. "We won," Jae-sung said. He didn't sound happy about it, did we? Day 1 looked at the destruction around them. Or did we just prove that the Council was right to fear war? The Council kept people enslaved, and we freed them through violence. Maybe both things can be true. Maybe we were right to fight and still cause terrible things to happen. The war was over. The old Galactic Council was finished. But the victory felt hollow. Too many had died. Too much had been destroyed. And everyone who survived knew that the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years after first contact, Admiral Day 1 stood before the inaugural session of the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from over 400 species filled the chamber. There were no raised platforms, no ranks of superiority. Every species had an equal voice. "We gather to build something new," Day 1 said. "Not a council that rules through fear, not an empire that controls through force. An assembly where free people work together." It sounded good, but everyone in the room knew the reality was more complicated. The war had broken the old power structures, but it hadn't solved everything. Dozens of small conflicts still burned across the galaxy. Species that had been suppressed for millennia now fought old rivals. The Terran Compact was stretched thin trying to keep peace. General Hyun-woo retired from active military command. He couldn't give orders anymore. Too many ghosts haunted him. Instead, he established the Galactic War College, teaching military strategy to anyone who wanted to learn. War should never be the first choice, he told his students. But if you don't know how to fight, someone else will make choices for you. True peace comes from strength, not weakness. His students came from every species. They learned human tactics, but also military philosophy. When to fight, when to negotiate, when to walk away. Hyunwoo hoped they would be wiser than he had been. Captain Taemin, promoted to admiral after the final battle, took command of the Compact's defense forces. He visited the memorial for Yuna and the thousands of others who died. Their names were carved into a monument that stretched for kilometers. "We won the war," he said at a remembrance ceremony. "But we lost people we can never replace. Every time I give an order that might lead to combat, I think of their faces. That's the burden of command. That's the price of freedom." He worked to establish rules of engagement that would prevent future wars from being as destructive. It was difficult. How do you make war less terrible while keeping it effective enough to deter aggressors? Dr. Mira led a project to share all the technology from the Council's hidden database. Every species gained access to 12,000 years of suppressed knowledge. Scientific advancement exploded. New medicines, new energy sources, new ways of traveling between stars. "Knowledge should never be hoarded," she said. "The Council kept secrets to maintain power. We share everything to empower everyone." She established research institutes across the galaxy. Scientists from different species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Mira hoped that this shared progress would bind civilizations together more effectively than any military alliance. Ambassador Hai-Jin became the first Secretary General of the Galactic Assembly. Her idealism had been tested by years of conflict, but not destroyed. She believed in cooperation, even after witnessing the worst the galaxy could offer. "We're building this new system on a foundation of war," she told Daewon during a private moment. "How do we make sure it doesn't collapse into violence again?" "We remember what violence costs," Daewon said. "We teach every generation why peace matters, and we stay strong enough that no one thinks they can take advantage of weakness." Jiwoo continued her intelligence work, but with a different focus. Instead of sabotage and combat operations, she built early warning systems to detect potential conflicts before they escalated. She trained peacekeepers who could intervene in disputes. "Prevention is better than victory," she said. "If we're smart, we can stop wars before they start." But she knew it wouldn't always work. Some conflicts were inevitable. Her job was to make sure the galaxy was prepared when they happened. Colonel Jin-ho and Engineer Subin returned to New Busan. The colony had survived the war but needed rebuilding. They helped transform military factories into civilian industries. Weapons technology became agricultural equipment, construction tools, medical devices. They married in a simple ceremony attended by Marines and colonists. It felt right to celebrate life after so much death. Their children would grow up in a galaxy very different from the one they had been born into. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Subin asked one night watching the stars. "We did what we had to do," Jin-ho said. "Whether it was right, history will judge." Lieutenant Jae-sung, now a commander, represented the next generation. He hadn't known the galaxy before first contact. He only knew the messy, complicated present and the uncertain future. "My generation inherits your victories and your mistakes," he told Admiral Daewon. "We have to figure out how to maintain what you built, without repeating the violence that built it." "Good," Daewon said. "Question everything we did. Learn from our mistakes. Make it better." The galaxy was more militarized than it had been in 12,000 years. Almost every species now had real defensive forces. The Terran Compact maintained a powerful fleet to deter aggression. Humans had taught the galaxy how to fight, but humans had also taught other lessons. Democracy instead of autocracy. Cooperation instead of domination. Innovation instead of stagnation. The right to self-determination instead of imposed order. On the 5th anniversary of First Contact, Earth held a memorial service. The names of every human who died in the wars were read aloud. It took 6 hours. Families of the fallen stood in silence, honoring the sacrifice. Admiral Daewon gave the closing speech. "We came to the stars seeking peace," he said. "We found tyranny disguised as harmony. We brought war to break the chains. Many died so that billions could be free. Were we right? I don't know. But I know that every person in this galaxy now has a choice. The right to decide their own future. The ability to defend what matters to them. That's worth something. He paused, looking at the monument bearing so many names. We became the galaxy's most feared military power. But I hope that's not all we become. I hope we're also known for teaching others to stand up. For sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it. For building something better than what came before. The old galaxy was peaceful but dead. The new galaxy is chaotic but alive. Maybe that's the best we can hope for. Life is messy. Freedom is complicated. Peace requires strength. These are hard truths, but they're true nonetheless. He ended with a moment of silence for all who died, human and alien alike. Then the ceremony concluded, and people returned to their lives, building, growing, arguing, cooperating, and occasionally fighting. All the messy complexity of free civilizations. Earth went from galaxy newcomer to military power in just 5 years. But the real transformation was in the galaxy itself. Species that had forgotten how to fight remembered. Civilizations that had accepted subjugation chose freedom. A stagnant order gave way to dynamic chaos. History would debate whether this was progress or disaster. Probably both. Because real change is never clean or simple. It's bloody and difficult and leaves scars that never quite heal. But it also creates possibilities that didn't exist before. And sometimes that's enough. The stars still shone. Ships still traveled between them. People still loved, dreamed, and hoped. The galaxy continued turning. And humanity, for better or worse, had left its mark on it forever.